Hello and welcome back to the Tower of London on Monday, the 15th of June. I've been told by various people who have been kind enough to get in touch with me that I'm not smiling enough. I'm not my usual smiley self on these thoughts for the day. So in an endeavour to try and put that right, I will smile even more, and that will particularly please my mother. I want to talk to you today about Messrs. Cigarette and Handbag. And in typical Roger form, all will become apparent as I go through this thought for the day. Now, it's not unnatural, I think, in these difficult times when we've been living with the lockdown for approximately 12 weeks and churches are closed, that several people have been asking that tricky question, where do I find God? Now, I interpret that not as a theological question or as an academic question, but more of a practical question, because these people have discovered that all our churches are presently closed, although we all rejoice and are pleased that as from today, hopefully churches will begin to open again for private prayer. So where do I find God? This practical question. First thing to say that people are not alone in asking this question. And it's a question that's historically been asked for centuries by lots of people, regardless of the fact that in the present situation our churches are closed. From the Old Testament, the prophet Jeremiah wrote these words, "If you seek me, you will find me. If you seek me with your whole heart, then I shall let you find me." Now that's one explanation about where we might find God, that God will find us and we'll find him. But my difficulty with that is that it gives an impression of hide and seek. And that's not the type of relationship that I would like to have with God. For me, it's much more about a treasure hunt. In other words, life has been a case of going from one clue to another clue, and I hope eventually I will find the treasure which is at the end of the treasure hunt. Now at this point, this is where I shall smile more and where I'll tell you the story of Cigarette and Handbag, which comes to help us try and explore a little bit of that question about where I find God. So my story takes us back a long time to some early part of my ministry, and I was visiting a hospital when sitting in the waiting room, waiting to go and see a parishioner. On my right-hand side, a lady walked in and sat down. She immediately got out her cigarettes and started chain smoking like blazes. A few moments later, another lady came in and sat on my left-hand side. Now, this lady had a rather large handbag, and she constantly kept opening and closing it and opening and closing and fidgeting and keeping her head really bowed down. Along came the sister and said to the cigarette, "You can go in now and visit your husband." Off she went to visit her husband. And after a little while, she came back. And to my complete and utter surprise, she walked straight over to the lady on the left-hand side of me, Handbag. And she walked up to her and just looked at her, and Handbag lifted her head, and Cigarette said to her, "It's your turn now." And off went Handbag. After I'd finished my own visit and having talked to one of the sisters, I discovered that Cigarette, no less, was the wife of the man who she'd gone to see. But even more significantly, the woman on my left had been his mistress. That put a smile on my face, if nothing else. But at that point, I suddenly realized that what I had witnessed from Cigarette was what I would simply call a moment of spontaneous generosity. She'd let God into the situation. And I realized that as I went home with a whole glow around me, realizing that, as I say, I'd witnessed and been part of an amazing moment of spontaneous generosity. And that, my friends, taught me two lessons. The first is that in my treasure hunt, as with lots of people's treasure hunts, the moments of when we reach the clue have not been massive, holy, enormous, massive occasions, but actually what's happened is the clues have been small. And lastly, of course, The clue itself, or what you might call the password, in this particular clue had just been a simple moment of kindness and generosity that one person had shown to another in letting God in to a difficult situation. I'm sorry that our churches are closed and that spontaneous moments of generosity seem to have sadly been lost. But I can assure you there are still many clues along the way. Well, I hope you've all have a very good week, and I send you all my best wishes with a big smile on my face.
Bacchus, at whose feasts is heard the noise of gaggling women's tattling tongues and the shouting out of boys.